I'm putting my shirt on this time. Oh, there we go.
How many shirts do you have on?
2.
Not 10?
Are we like ready to go?
Finish getting dressed.
I know. I know. I know. This is a real courtroom. There's no clock in it. What time is it?
3:17.
Oh, so we should go. Take my gum out. All right, let's finish this conference up, don't you think? So unfortunately, there's a little talk I have to give, and then we'll get to the raffle. Hi, my name is John Mayer. I'm the executive director of CALI, the Center for Computer Assisted Legal Instruction, and I get to close out the conference this time with I promise it won't be too long, but it's something that we used to do at I've seen it done at other conferences, and we used to do it at this one too, which was somebody sort of tried to attend a lot of things and then give us sort of a vibe check or a summary sort of thing. I can't believe how difficult that was. I mean, I started with a template of a presentation and then just sort of added and subtracted some things. So we'll see. As well as I want to talk a little bit about some of the things that specifically CALI is doing in the AI space and so on. So, you know, the title, I don't know, Code Cooperation and Posterity. I don't know what I was thinking, but maybe it'll still make some sense. So my agenda is this: thinking about AI. I'm gonna go, I don't want to think about AI, I want to think about my thinking about AI. Talk a little bit about some CALI AI projects, announce something relatively new that we're doing that I hope a lot of you, because I saw your presentations, will participate in. AI Essentials for Legal Education, and then a very short amount of feedback from you on the conference on where you are in the legal education and technology space. So thinking about AI, let's start with that. If AI is a movie, I get to have a little fun here. You know, I think, first thing I think of is Star Trek. Majel Barrett was the voice for all the original series Star Trek, or Data, right? The positronic brain. And Data was wonderful, of course, when he got the emotion chip plugged in, and he had a brother named Lore, and then they had to merge in Picard. I'm sorry, spoilers if you haven't seen Picard. You know, it was all pretty positive, and I didn't know where to put the Borg in there because they're not really an AI, they're a human mind collective or something like that, but I felt like it was incomplete unless I had a board picture in there. But basically, Star Trek, good AI, right? It's helping us fly, you know, to the Federation, helping us, you know, connect the galaxy. It answers our questions intelligently and so on. Of course, the opposite of that is Terminator. Worst case scenario, AI wakes up and says, oh, get rid of the human, right? Except if you read, you know, at the very end, the AI says, no, you're okay, I'm gonna kill myself so that you can live. So even that's sort of a positive, right? At least AI can learn to love humans, so that's hopeful. And then the last one is not an AI thing specifically, but it's you know, President Dwayne Elizondo Mountain Dew Herbert Camacho, who is, of course, the star of the documentary Idiocracy. And that's basically a placeholder for me to say, is AI just gonna make us stupid, right? We're just never gonna have a thought in the heads unless we ask AI what its opinion is. Brawndo is good for plants. It has electrolytes, right? So if you haven't seen the movie Idiocracy, you must see it, all right? So if AI is a movie, you know, and then I found some examples to sort of pull from that start. The first one is this. This is an AI unicorn worth $1.5 billion, and it recently collapsed because apparently it was about 700 Indian guys answering the questions that were being typed into the chat prompts. True story, right? AI is reckoning for white-collar jobs. I've heard this echoed multiple times over the last 2 days, that AI is going to wipe out 50% of the entry-level white-collar jobs within 5 years. So I guess that means fewer conference attendees. We should plan for that. But this is a pull quote from that. If AI can compile reports, write code, or sift legal documents in seconds, what will junior analyst coders or paralegals do? Education can no longer be business as usual, because business as usual is about to be upended by AI. I'm scared, right? I know that's what you guys do. You train law students to sift legal documents. From another one, and this is an excellent website. They're just sort of getting started, but it's Carl Bergstrom and Jevin West, modern day oracles or bullshit machines. And they're not being pejorative, they're being sort of literal. We argue that their power, meaning the AIs, come from a superhuman ability to bullshit. This ability is their greatest strength. Yes, it can be genuinely useful, and it's also their biggest threat. When an LLM fabricates a falsehood, it is not a malfunction. It's not, oops, it's that's how it works. The machine is doing exactly what it was designed to do. Guess and sound confident doing it. Here's the answer. Trust me. They are engineered. This was a key insight that I liked about this as well. They are engineered to write, speak, and converse like humans. You notice the interface, I don't know, the interface could have been any number of things, but it's a chat bot that feels like it's responding to you, right? The fact that they are generally quite good at this drives the enormous enthusiasm for LLMs. Their ability to use language, our language, also leads us to overestimate their capacities and underestimate their limitations. This is an important caveat. The less we know about a subject at hand, the more likely we are to judge an LLM as credible. So that's a scary sort of deeper insight in that. So as an illustration of that, I found a video that I thought was pretty awesome. Here, I'm gonna play it now. Here, I'm gonna refresh so that I can, oops, hold on, let me turn on the sound. And then hit refresh so it starts at the beginning. Oh.
Canada has declared war on the United States. Let's go to Joe Braxton, who is live at the border.
I'm currently at the border, but there is no war. Mom, Dad, I know this looks kind of real, but it's all AI.
Grandpa, I'm fine. This is just AI. You don't need to wire money to anyone. I am not in love with you. And I do not need your money for a plane ticket. I am AI.
This fake moon landing footage isn't classified. It's AI.
You're probably wondering how I got rich with crypto. The truth is, I didn't get rich off crypto. I don't even exist.
You might be able to tell this is fake now, but it's gonna keep getting better.
We're all AI!
There could be aliens, but I'm not one of them. I'm AI.
An herbal supplement did not cure my cancer. I'm not even real.
Uncle Fred, the government has not been taken over by lizard people.
You don't need to send us $5,000 in gift cards because you missed jury duty.
Grandma, it's not real. It's AI.
It's AI.
It's AI.
Bro, it's AI.
Fake faces.
Real consequences.
Think before you trust.
I love that. And
I appreciate the message of this video, but it was all made with AI too. So can we even trust it?
It looked pretty real to me.
I like that. Looked pretty real to the lizard guy. Oh, man. So that's scary too. And in the future, all the artifacts of education, could be or should be or will be or might be generated by AI. Books, lectures, syllabi, exams, grading of exams, tutoring, multiple choice questions, and so on and so forth. Is this anonymous? I left the misspelling in on purpose. Or awesome. Let me pause. Which is it? Is it ominous or is that awesome? Why? Good responses. Good responses. Yeah, it's kind of both, right? I mean, if we can stand on the shoulders of the work that AI can do for us, that's good. We can advance our own work. If it replaces us, like some of those articles that I pulled up say, that's ominous. Ominous, yes. So one more pull on that, or I think this is the last one, benchmarking the pedagogical unknown. This means teaching is hard. I think we agree on that. The dream of the chatbot tutor crowd is that we'll somehow figure out how to encapsulate the complex manifold of all pedagogical decisions, train AI upon it, and boom, 2 sigma learning gains. That 2 sigma thing is something in almost all ed tech or all educational intervention studies. The gold standard is to get a 2 sigma change, which studies have shown you can get when you provide a individual personal tutor to the student. They will improve their learning. And of course, that's way too expensive to do for every single student. And so we've been looking for the holy grail of the computer program that does 2 sigma improvements to students in whatever area of study. Good luck navigating the complexity of that search space. So that's pretty pessimistic about that. So with that thought, let me tell you about some of the CALI AI projects we're working on. We have a dev lab up at cali.org/AI. One of them, you might have heard some of these in some of the presentations, is we're working with Notebook LM to create conversational podcasts. I really like this one because it's a clever use of creating summaries that are turned into audio, but the audio is not one person talking like me here. It's 2 people bantering. And I don't know what they did. I would really love to know how they got that sort of banter vibe inside the podcast. And it creates sort of an ambient learning thing, something that you don't feel like you're being lectured at or learning. And so you could listen to it while walking the dog or while you're on the exercise machine or something like that. So we're experimenting with feeding it chapters of books and the text of entire CALI lessons and giving us a 10-minute podcast on it. And it's going fairly well. You'll see some of the examples. All right. The talking avatar videos, this is basically doing the same thing. Take some quality content, summarize it, and then have a talking head generated like you saw, Grandma, this is not AI. That is not uncanny valley sort of stuff. So we're pulling it from case books, from lessons, and other resources. We started to use Synthesia, but their terms of service didn't like that we were talking about criminal law or murder or homicide or battery. They thought it might be some fake, deep fakes being made. And so they wouldn't let us generate the videos, even when we tried to contact them and say, we're legal education, that should be okay. So we've been using colorusso.com. Oh wait, that's not Colorusso. We're using Colossian.com. Oh. You totally should at this point, right? Yeah. So Colossian.com, and I'm not even, and I'm uncomfortable with Colossian in the sense that because if we want to generate hundreds of these or lots of these, it's going to cost us. So I'm waiting for the not open source versions of video generation to get better. And that tends to lag behind the open source stuff in the ChatGPT space, the LLM space, on Hugging Face and stuff like that. We're building casebook companions. This was an obvious thing to try. Flashcards, additional multiple choice questions. We're plugging them into the same website where the book is on our Pressbook site, on our lawbooks.cali.org. I think it's lawbooks.cali.org, yeah. And it's a no-brainer to make an audio book out of a casebook, although I think they act more as a soporific than they do as a teaching opportunity. Listen to them before you need to go to bed or something. I wouldn't want to feed the Lord of the Rings or fiction and listen to those generated audiobooks, but maybe textbooks, that's okay. Especially in situationally appropriate situations. So you're reading, your eyes are getting a little tired, so you close the book and you can go to the website and listen from there. Or you have to get on the bus, or you're gonna go walk the dog, you put the headphones on and listen for a couple of pages and then come back. There's a lot that needs to go on in the back end to make it easy to like jump from format to format, but that's exactly why we're trying to explore that. As well as the obvious, and I think I don't know if you saw just the last presentation, the use, although he teased it, Sid teased it, but he didn't show us any of it, using AI to create quiz shows or games or gamification of learning, right? So our special sauce to make sure that this isn't something horrible or slop is that we know what the inputs are. We're going to curate carefully what we're doing. We're going to add editorial review at every step that we can and engage the community to say, would this work for you? And does this work with students? But we're up against the fact that the students are going to take our open source casebooks or the screens that they have in front of them, cut and paste into ChatGPT and just do it anyway. And hopefully the quality that we can do with these curation and editorial review, makes the product that much better. Is that anonymous or awesome? I don't know. I think it's a work in progress, and we'll have to see how that works out. We're working with anybody who wants to work with us, but we've had some excellent conversations with Sean at University of Oklahoma on his TutorBot project. Is Sean? No, Sean's not here. He was on virtual. Isn't that strange? Hi, Sean. We're also working on simulations, and I wanted to actually show you some of this, although you might have seen it
In a stunning development, Canada has declared war on the United States. Let's go to Joe Brack.
All right. Yeah, there it is. All right, so let's play. Oh, you're killing me, Smalls. Oh, that's because that's my PowerPoint version. Here it is. There it is.
Welcome to this CALI interview simulator on character evidence. The defendant is on trial for larceny. The prosecution has rested, and the defense has called a character witness as its first witness. You should play the role of the prosecutor and make objections where appropriate. Don't take trial tactics into account. You should object whenever a question or an answer is objectionable. The judge will rule on each objection. The defense counsel commences her direct examination now.
Good afternoon. What is your name?
My name is Samantha Smith.
Okay, I can.
And what is your
I'm
occupation?
gonna let it play a little bit.
I am the owner and manager of a sporting goods store.
And how long have you owned the store?
I have owned it for 15 years.
Do you know David, defendant?
Yes, I know.
Objection.
Motion denied, counsel. The answer may stand.
Is he a trustworthy person?
Yes, absolutely.
How long have you known him?
Wait a minute.
Objection, Your Honor.
Overruled. Nothing objectionable about laying foundation of witnesses' knowledge of the defendant.
For 10 years.
How did you get to know him?
He was a sales clerk in my store for 9 years until last month.
Did you have much contact with him during that time?
Yes, we worked side by side in the store for 9 years.
Is he a trustworthy person?
Objection, Your Honor. Seriously?
Overruled. The practical effect of the question is to ask the witness to give his opinion about whether the defendant is trustworthy. Unlike the common law, the federal rules permit testimony about character to be given in the form of a personal opinion.
Yes, I would trust him with anything.
What is his reputation for trustworthiness?
Objection.
Hearsay.
Sustained. The defense counsel has failed to lay a foundation for the question.
All right.
The witness has not testified to facts showing that
it. But whoops, and here's my email. So what we're hoping here is to start from the base, which is that CALI lessons are simulations already, right? Faculty create simulations in the classroom, right, with Socratic dialogue. Faculty branch these by getting an answer from a student and saying, well, what if I change the facts on you or something? And the goal of CALI lessons has always been to sort of simulate that, right? Set the scene, ask some questions, respond, and then branch and loop and follow different paths. So we're already sort of got a toe in the water of simulations, just that we've been doing with this crude text sort of model, right? Now, if we wanted to create an authoring system for people to create simulations that are a little bit better than that. We want to capture their script. So because everything is driven from the script, we want to let the faculty member play the script and then see how it works. Did I forget something? Do I need to add stuff? We want them to iterate back and forth, and then and play in a lo-fi, a low fidelity sort of way, because it's too expensive to always have to go to the video, at least now it is, and then come back. And I'll talk about that in just a second. Then we'll do some editorial review, because we always want second eyes to look at it, and then we'll publish the hi-fi, the high fidelity version like that. So it starts with a script, and text-to-speech comes in, and for the lo-fi version, it's basically like doing a Hollywood movie storyboarding. And there's actually amazingly sophisticated software for doing storyboarding, but it's mostly for doing special effects shots. And this is not special effects, right? This is talking head sort of things. But you can imagine still, just putting up maybe an AI-generated picture or a still picture while the audio plays, and that's enough verisimilitude for the faculty member who's testing out the interactions for which they are coding. And then the final step is the TTV, the text to video, that is the final product that would eventually be put in front of the student. So the text to speech is cheap. You can literally get software that runs inside your browser that does that sort of thing. And the generation of storyboards is relatively straightforward. It's the video that's expensive, and you would have to save for the final cut. And we want to build this inside of CALI Author, because we can imagine situations where you're interacting with a simulation, and then you want to go off and have some multiple choice questions, or have some text or some artifacts to examine, or something like that. And why build a whole brand new system around managing and controlling that? Because we have a whole publishing system and a review system built into CALI Author. So let's add to that capability, just by adding a new page type like simulation pages or something to that. So then it gets, that's obvious, right? But then it starts to get interesting when you say, well, what if the author shows up and there's a button that says, create a simulation for me, and lets them prompt. Now they can do this outside of ChatGPT, Control-A, Control-C, Control-V, but build it right in the capability to generate interactive simulation scripts that then just need some cleanup before they enter into the pipeline for the production of this thing. And if we're thinking wild thoughts, which I am here, why does the student have to type or click on anything? Why not have the student say objection? And if you got the microphone on, then it's speech to text, that's the STT there, and then ChatGPT generates an answer if it's running live in that situation. Now, that means that's a time when we've got AI running locally, and we can control the cost, or we can manage the load if 100 or 1,000 students are all doing this all at once. But that's where we're going, I think. That's the tutor bot within the context of a simulation of a real live made up learning or teachable moment created by law faculty who start by writing the scripts. Now, if you get too much branching going on here, it starts to get pretty hairy, and we have to manage the complexity of that sort of thing. And we used to call these expert systems in the old days. But if it gets really complex, what you really want to do is you want to build a real world, an open world sort of game like Grand Theft Auto. And I picked this one especially because it's called The Contract. But the development effort that it takes to work on something like an open world game, Unreal or Unity engine, is ridiculously expensive, programmer-wise and time-wise and things like that. And I think I want to step away from that ledge and say, I don't need all that fidelity. I don't need all that immersion. I don't need all that verisimilitude. I can do it fine with simple video and with text that I've got. So those are some of the things that CALI is working on right now, and you can see those examples on our dev page. Now, the new thing that I'm working on this summer is called AI Essentials for Legal Education. And it's driven by this. I hear this from so many folks in legal education. Every lawyer's got to learn something about AI. Law students got to learn AI. We got to prepare them for this. And if we do this, this will solve some big challenges or it will begin to address issues in access to justice. I don't know if those last two are true, but I do know that that schools are being approached by people to say, you know, I'll sell you a course or I'll sell you content, you know, that you can give to all of your students. And this looks like something that schools can do for themselves. So that's what this plan is. It's a law school problem, but with a consortium solution, right? Sort of, you know, inspired by our Preparing for the Future of Legal Education, the mini course we did at the beginning of COVID and our awards program, right? So there would be a template for videos, and we would basically, we've created this subject outline. I used AI to do that. I did read it. And each one of these represents a potential short video that I want to find an author to create specifically on that topic. 15, 20 minutes. It's got to be tight, it's got to be short, it's got to be punchy. You got to speak really fast, or the students will just sit there and crank up your playback speed anyhow. And then we'll use AI to generate a little quiz for that same thing, and we'll drop that into CALI Author or QuizWrite so that we can actually measure the students. You know, we're going to make them take the quiz before we'll say that they passed the course. There's a page up on the CALI website right now, how to become an author. Basically, it's rough at this point. I'm working on it, you know. But we want to find people like in this room who you are the experts at this point on using AI in legal education and would like to be paid to create videos for this community-based collection of materials. You know, so short videos covering topics in AI and legal education. And by the way, if there's a topic on there that, if we're missing a topic, you know, let me know. We will, you know, that is a first draft, and I expect this to iterate and change, you know, even year to year as we say, oh my gosh, we got to have something on, you know, the lizard men, or we've got to have something on, you know, deep fakes or stuff like that. Great. I think, you know, we can add to that as it goes. These, you know, because we do deal with the community, these need to be authored by faculty and librarians and tech staff. You know, you are the first adopters of using AI, so you're the ones that we consider to be the subject matter experts. You will help us, and we will curate and organize the collective effort. And when the students show up, we'll give them a certificate if they run through, you know, a collection of videos. And figuring out what should be in that collection of videos, you know, is also part of the development process of this. But you got to be a CALI member, obviously, for your students to get that. However, the videos themselves might be, I would hope, very useful to people teaching other courses who aren't teaching an entire law and AI course. You know, I'm teaching torts, but I would like to have a little section on this, and I could pluck a couple of videos off of this, and that helps my students in the context of that doctrine course. So of course, that's the way we would do things. And of course, for free or cheap, or at least, well, for free, because we want to make these as useful and as valuable to people as possible. So that's my talk. That wasn't too bad, I hope. I want to finish up by asking, you know, well, where are you? Are you overwhelmed by all this? Are you excited? This is awesome. We're going to have so much fun. Are you bracing for impact? When's the dean going to fire me? When's the dean going to get fired? I think deans' jobs could be automated, right? Or are you just thinking this is actually going to all go away? The bubble's going to pop, you know, when the money runs out, or something like that. So how many of you are overwhelmed? Not too bad. How many of you are excited? How many of you are bracing for impact? Ooh, all right. And how many of you think this is going to be a bubble that's going to pop? It's a bubble, and it won't pop, or it might pop. I agree. Cool. So that's my talk. Any questions? Comments? How'd you like the conference? Cool, let's do a raffle. Oh, I have to thank some people. I have to thank Georgia State. Georgia State, you guys did a great job. Samir, thank you. course, have to thank our sponsors, Doug, Bloomberg Law, EdTech, and Justia. Thank you, guys. And the speakers. How many of you are speakers? Woo! And of course, I didn't do any work here, so I have to thank my staff who actually did all the work. Scott, Elmer, Renella, Tobias, Sarah, John. Did I forget anybody? Jennifer is going to be paying all the bills, so I got to thank her. And Sam, who we miss. All right.